Hello and welcome to the editorial analysis of the Hindu. Today we shall be discussing the editorial of the 25th of July. So coming to the first article, having the last word on population control. Now this article has primarily been written in the context of the World Population Day, which is on the 11th of July. Also, there was recently a report by the United Nations. We have discussed an article on this, and as per this report, it has been highlighted that India will soon take over China as the most populous country in the world. So this issue of population explosion in the country is what is very, very pertinent, and so this article has been written and it is important. Coming to the issues, first and foremost that has been discussed here is the idea of population control. Now basically what has happened is that in the backdrop of this population explosion that the country is facing, and it being set to replace China as the world's most populous country, several political statements on this is what have come up. Recently, a politician on his Twitter handle, he had made a statement that people who are having more than 3 children or are having 3 or more than 3 children should not be allowed to vote. That is, their voting rights are what should be taken back from them. Then some suggest that the third child that is born, that child should not be able to have any accessibility to any facilities of the government. That child should not have any voting right. And these kind of stringent measures, these kind of hardliner stands are what will ensure that population is what is controlled. So that is one stand that has been offered by some groups in the Indian politics or amongst the politicians. Another stand is a softer stand. Now this is the stand that India follows, and this is the stand that has been also analyzed in the economic survey. It has rather been suggested here. Now it is basically that the economic survey is discussing that it is not that all of India is what is experiencing a population explosion. In many states in India, population is what has been controlled, and large number of these states are rather rather aging populations. So this demographic dividend that India is going to see is what is going to be a phenomenon of only few states in India, and majority of the states have almost crossed this time and their population is now rather coming down. Also, what is important here is that since times immemorial, since a very, very long time now in India, the democracy is what has been established, and since democracy has been established, except for a small phase of the emergency, largely this decision of how many number of children is what people want is what has always been a voluntary choice. So that is what has been discussed here. Another important analysis is with regards to a dangerous imagery that is being constructed. Now this is what even we all have in our mind. It is believed that more are the number of people in a country, less are the resources, competition is what goes high, there's a lot of threat that is generated. It is appeared that one person is what is a threat to another. This kind of a statement or this kind of a debate on the issue of population is what is creating a dangerous image, and this image is not completely true. If we view it from another perspective, if more are the number of people, these people are productive, then the economy will grow, and as a result of which this dividend is what can be reaped, this demographic dividend is what will be reaped, and India can eventually become the most powerful country also. Resources can be generated, jobs can be generated, so that it becomes one of the most prosperous country in the world. So that is one analysis which has been made in this particular editorial, which has been highlighted, that this kind of an idea of competition, of threat is what is a dangerous imagery, and it is a false creation. Also, what happens because of this dangerous imagery is that there develop some deep class or religious conflicts. Often certain specific religions are what are targeted. For example, it is said that it is the Muslim community which has more number of children, or for that matter some other religion is in particularly targeted. So these kind of imagery, these kind of false images are what are time and again created, and this is what needs to change, is what has been advocated here. Also, what has been discussed is that there should be strict controls that should not allow any form of discrimination. Now basically what is happening here is that this kind of an idea that is being offered, that population control through stringent measures is what should be done. For instance, taking away of these voter rights, what is going to happen because of this is that this is what is going to result in a social discrimination. If voting rights are taken, can you imagine what is this equivalent to? It is almost equivalent to the fact that the person is what is stateless. Just for having another child, the person is stateless. How can we go ahead with these kind of issues? These kind of discriminations is what has been argued in the editorial. So that is one analysis which has been brought about. Another analysis that has been made is with regards to the national population policy. Now, contrary to the beliefs that have been advocated by some politicians, coming to the National Population Policy, which came back in the year 2000 under the leadership of Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji, under his leadership, he at that point of time had advocated that for controlling the population, the National Population Policy had suggested that it has always supposed to be a voluntary process. It has to be an informed choice. These are some key words that you have to remember. Also, it has to include the idea of consent of the citizen. Only based on voluntariness, informed choice and consent can any reproductive health care service be offered to the citizens of India. So this is the idea that the National Population Policy had, and this is what needs to be followed even today. So that is one important analysis. Another important analysis, which is also a keyword, is life cycle framework. Now, this is the idea that was propagated by the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Here, the focus was on the health and the nutrition of the mother as well as the child, not only after the child is born, but since the time the mother conceives the child or mother is pregnant. Since that particular point of time, the health and nutrition of the mother is what has to be taken care of. Rather, even before this, it should be taken care of young girls who are adolescent and who are suffering from anemia. All of that is what needs to be taken into consideration, so that at least the children who are born are healthy. Only if it is that the children are healthy can they be converted into a demographic dividend rather than a demographic disaster. So that is what has been analyzed, that it is this particular strategy which the government has to focus on rather than hardliner steps that have been advocated by some politicians. Another analysis is with regards to the relation between education of women and the population. Now, it has been seen that rather than education, obviously education of the entire masses is what is important. Educating men is equally important. That is not being denied. But the relationship between education of women and population control is what is very, very directly linked. That is what has been highlighted here. For instance, women who are highly educated and are in the wealthy section of the society, they have a total fertility rate of 1.5 compared to the women who belong to the poor sections of the society. They have a total fertility rate of 3.2. Now, those of you who don't understand what is total fertility rate, total fertility rate represents the number of children a woman is going to have. Suppose the total fertility rate is what is less than 2, in this particular case 1.5. This means that approximately 2 women will collectively, as in 2 women, if we take 2 couples separately, this is one couple, couple number 1, and this is another couple, couple number 2. Here there is another, both these families will separately have children which will collectively amount to 3 in number. So this is what is reflecting the total fertility rate of 1.5. So that is the idea behind this. However, if women have a total fertility rate of 3, for instance, then this simply means that one woman in her lifetime will have 3 children. So ideally the total fertility rate should be 2, because 2 parents have to be replaced by 2 individuals. So this is the level at which population will be constant. But for a country like India, where population has to be reduced, it is important that total fertility rate be below number 2. So this is what is important. This is the understanding of the TFR which you should have. Another important analysis that has been offered in this particular editorial, which is very, very relevant, is the scars of the past. This is the analysis in the context of the emergency. During the times of emergency, there were cases of several forced sterilizations on men. So the editorial is highlighting that even today the scars are what are felt. If you will study any population control program of the government, the focus is always on women and child. Even today the government is scared to introduce a population control program which includes a sterilization of men, and they have rather been literally moved out or removed from the idea of population control. This is because of the humiliation that men at that point of time had suffered during emergency, and it is still a very, very sensitive issue in India, and as a result of which it is still not something that is in the mainstream of population control programs. So that is what has been highlighted here. Indeed, the issue of population explosion and population control is relevant for us. It is relevant as a social issue. It is relevant in economy. It is relevant in so many aspects. So indeed, your question is what definitely can be expected, and from that perspective, you have to prepare this particular article. Coming to the next article, making Chennai a water-wise city. Now the context here is with regards to the water crisis that is being faced in Chennai. We all know about it. This is so much in news, and so this particular article becomes important. First and foremost, the editorial discusses that the public discourse that is taking place, the public debate that is taking place on the Chennai water crisis is what is going on very, very predictable lines. Everybody is talking about the need for source augmentation, that there should be deepening of the water bodies, there should be rainwater harvesting. These are the ideas that are being talked about. Also some demand side management is what should be done. All of these ideas are age old and the same are what are being debated here. So that is one analysis. Another analysis that has been offered is with regards to the source augmentation. Now in the case of Chennai, there are basically two programs that are being focused on. One is the Krishna Water Supply Scheme. So this is a program that started way back in the year 1996, and there is another program that is the New Varnam project. So this Varnam project is what started in the year 2004. So these are the two major projects which are going on for the source augmentation, and in this new Viranam project, and under this new Viranam project, the idea is to link two rivers, that is Krishna is to be linked with Kaveri. So these are the two source augmentation projects that are in the pipeline. Also, what you should know that for the Chennai metropolitan area, the demand for water is what is approximately 1,721 million liters per day. So this is the high demand that Chennai metropolitan area has, and this is what is not being met. We all know about the conflict between Tamil Nadu and Karnataka over the sharing of water of Kaveri river. This is something that is old, which is again reflecting water scarcity in this particular region. Another method of source augmentation is through tapping of the stone quarries. A large number of stone quarries are what are present around Chennai, and these are what can be tapped for water. But again, this is not going to be sufficient, is what has been highlighted. Then desalination projects are what are there in Chennai, which they have already started. There are two such projects of 100 MLD capacity, that is million liters per day capacity. Also there's another project of approximately 400 MLD, but all of this is still not going to cater to the demand that is there. So in this particular context, again, that what has been highlighted is that the demand supply gap is what is not being bridged. Even if the tanks and lakes are water to be deepened, for example, that is another suggestion for source augmentation, the deepening of water bodies is what should be done. But the cost of that is very, very high, and also desiltation of these bodies poses another challenge as to where will this waste silt be deposited. So this is another challenge that does emerge. Also in the context of the rainwater harvesting, it is important. It is not that we are completely denying these ideas. The editorial is simply saying that with these ideas also the demand is what is not going to be met. This again cannot be a panacea for all the problems. So what is the final solution is? The final solution is that wastewater recycling be done in this particular region, which at present is very, very less. At almost 85 liters of water is out of 100 liters of water is what goes waste as of now. Only 37.5% of the water in Chennai is what is being from the sewage is what is being converted or is being treated, and so that is one important analysis. Another concern is that not only this idea is not being explored, there is also land scarcity for this idea. What is happening is that there is less number of availability of land for setting up sewage treatment plants, and also the network for sewage transmission is what is very, very weak, and as a result of which what has happened is that all the canals and the rivers in this particular region are almost equivalently treated as sewage treatment canals, and raw sewage is what is added to them, and it is through these canals and these rivers that the sewage is being transported. So this is one cause of concern which needs to be addressed, and this is the only way out if Chennai wants to come out of its water crisis. This otherwise will be a pertinent phenomenon. Even if rainfall in some years is what is high also, still the demand is what is much, much higher, and for matching the demand supply gap, wastewater recycling is what is needed. Now why this article becomes important primarily is because such kind of questions are what UPSC will ask. And what happens is that everybody will talk about the idea of rainwater harvesting or deepening of these water bodies, as I've discussed, desalination projects. Definitely these are good ideas and everybody discusses about them. But only a student who has had in-depth knowledge will know that what is the demand and what is the supply gap. The person who will correct your papers will be an expert on this, and trust me, he will know that these ideas are superficial and they actually cannot resolve the crisis. It is only when the sewage is what is treated through the process of reverse osmosis that this crisis can be fully solved, and marks will be rewarded for a practical solution. So that is why this kind of editorials, these kind of newspaper articles are very, very important. So that is why this article becomes relevant for us also. Another analysis that has been given here is with regards to the sustainable development goals. They have to be completed by the year 2030, and under this there is a target that all the countries who are signatories to the SDGs, they should halve the proportion of untreated wastewater till the year 2030. So again, in this context also, it is important that India should almost treat at least 50% of its sewage. That again is under the SDG. Also, what is important here is a keyword, that is the non-consumptive usage. Now, all this water that is being treated, often citizens have a reluctance to use this water. In consuming this water, they are doubtful about it. They have some issues concerning this. They are worried about the hygiene status of the water. Confidence is what is not there. So even if till the time this assurance is what can be given to the citizens that this water is completely safe for consumption purposes, it can be put to use for some non-consumptive uses. For example, it could be used for gardening in this particular region. Also, this could be used for purposes like flushing of toilets. So these are some purposes for which at least these waters should be used, so that some degree of crisis is what can be done away with. So that is what is the entire analysis of this article. We have discussed in the past few days only several articles on water crisis. This is going to be one of the most important topics for this particular main. So from that perspective, you should prepare it. Also, otherwise, water scarcity in India is now almost a constant topic which you have to be prepared with almost every year. So indeed, the article is very, very relevant. So that's about this particular article, and that's about our discussion. There is another article on RBI Amendment Act, a bill, I'm sorry. It is not yet an act. It is just proposed in the Parliament. We have discussed it in the past, and as a result of which I have omitted that article. There was another article which was in the context of India-Pakistan relation, but I have ignored that article because I could not find any relevant point in that article which could be put to use in the exam. You have to read articles in such a way that they could at least give you some point to be used in the exam. This particular article, that with the India-Pakistan relation, is focusing on Pakistan and Pakistan's importance for US and China. So for India, the consideration is very, very less, and as a result of which I personally felt that the article could be easily omitted. It had very negligible relevance for us, so that is why I have not discussed it. So that's about our discussion today. I thank you all for watching the video.